Hi everybody, I'll be presenting an academic article today. The academic article is titled, Does It Pay to Be Multinational? It basically talks about the correlation between, or investigates if there's a correlation between performance and a company going multinational. So the article is titled, Does It Pay to Be Multinational? A large sample cross-national replication assessing the multinationality performance relationship. So basically the purpose of this article is to investigate past studies in order to understand if there is a positive relationship between performance and multinationality. It's very important to investigate if this is true or not, because so many companies are doing this today. They're going multinationally, trying to basically push more revenue for the company. So this study is seeing, is that really going to maximize financial growth, or is this just, or is it kind of like a facade? Is it kind of like a perceived thing where, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and put some headquarters in other countries and do business in those other countries as well. That's going to go ahead and put more money in our pockets. It seems like it's true, but that's where this article gets very interesting. It's like, what if it's not, and that's the reason why I chose it. It was just very interesting to see if there's truly a correlation between performance and a company going multinational. So some main insights. Basically the relationship between multinationality, which is referred to as M, and performance, which is referred to as P, has been found to be virtually non-existent in this study. They found that there's not really a correlation between the two, using statistics and using regression formulas to find that. So basically in this article there is there's a dependent variable, there's a main independent variable of multinationality, and there's a main dependent variable of performance. Now I'm going to get into those in a second in the next slide. So the two studies that were examined were a study from Liu and Beamish, which was from 2004, and the other study was from Berry and Call, which is from 2016. And they were assessing the same thing, if there's a positive correlation between performance and a company going multinational. So in this article, they use the TUA SLS fixed model, which stands for the fixed two-stage least squares regression model, to really assess the data from those two studies to get a more accurate reading on them, and also to combine all the data as well, to see if there's slight differentiating factors between the two studies. But if there's a regression model that ties them together, then that would be more accurate, since it entails a lot more data than using a little bit of data from this, a little bit of data from this. So the dependent variable is ROA, which is return on assets, while the independent variables are internationalization, parent size, parent debt to equity ratio, parent export intensity, parent product diversification, exchange rate, country, industry sector, instrumental variable, board internationalization. So those are all of the independent variables. There's a lot of independent variables. Basically, these independent variables are directly related to the multinationality of a company, while the dependent variable is what we're trying to really see if there is indeed a spike up in financial performance. So, the independent variables represent the multinationality of the firms being tested, and the dependent variables represent the financial performance of the firms. And then also in this, they put the meaning of each thing. So basically, this is the data that they used to determine their regression. They compiled some data from these two, and they found that these are the means for each part, standard deviations, and this is what they used. This is basically the general framework for what they used to analyze their data. So this next slide here discusses the LNB sample and the B and K sample. So the LNB sample is from the 2004 study, and the B and K sample is from the 2016 study. So they compiled those two, the data from those two, and came up with a bunch of stats for them, which you could see on the right side of the slide. And yeah. So the next slide. So basically, as I said before, the study concluded that there is little to no evidence of influence for multinationality on company performance. However, so many companies still choose to go multinational. So in this course, we've learned about companies choosing to go multinational. In our GSE project, our group was tasked to choose a company and propose a strategy for it to enter a new market. Although many of those firms choose to be multinational, this study proves that becoming multinational causes little to no influence on company performance, which is very interesting because despite what I've personally thought for so long, these studies actually are important, even if we know if something almost seems like common sense, it's sometimes it's wrong. So I think these studies are very important to do to really understand whether or not something is true, and that's what this article has done, and these two studies that this article was based off of have done as well. So the question is, should firms be burdened financially and in understanding the legal, social, and cultural atmosphere if there is no positive correlation between multinationality and performance? I would personally say that companies should globalize instead of being multinational, meaning that difference between being multinational and having a global strategy is global strategy means that your headquarters is in one country, so you're primarily operating in one country, but then you're expanding to sell your products into different markets. Now with multinationality, it means that you have headquarters in various different countries, not just one country. And with that, you're gonna need to learn a bunch of different things. You're gonna need to learn the culture, as we stated, the legal, social atmosphere, and those could be very critical and very tedious to really understand. It's going to take a lot of time to understand that, and it's not necessarily favorable, especially in the case of this with what this study found, which is that there's not really a positive relationship between performance and a company going multinational. So I would definitely say that companies should definitely consider to prioritize going using a global strategy versus a multinational strategy.